Hi, it's Sandra here, and I wanted to do a video today as an update on my work on making polymer stamps, photopolymer stamps. Now, if you're interested in the actual process involved and you haven't seen my previous blogs or videos on this, then search my channel, it was relatively recent, and find them. Because if you don't have that basic grounding, then what I'm about to say may not make an awful lot of sense to you. So have a look at those first. This is my stack of stamps that I have made with my photopolymer liquid and my UV lamp. The UV lamp that I purchased was one designed for doing nails, just a normal UV lamp that you would use if you're using the special nail gel. And I have got to the stage where I have now finished all my polymer liquid. I've had a lot of trial and error. I've had a lot of wastage because I was learning how to do this. And I have also now got quite a lot of stamps for my trebles. I'll show you first of all some of the very early stamps that I made because, well, I had no idea really exactly what it could do and what I could do or what it could or couldn't do. Now these are some of the early ones that I made, my first what I would class as relatively successful stamps. You can see from here these are relatively thick. And I decided that I don't like really thick stamps. I don't find them as easy to use as thinner ones. Now maybe you'd be different to me. These were created with quite a deep fill, obviously. If you look at, if I take one of these off, and hopefully you can see that under the camera, they are relatively deep. That is probably about ½ centimetre, I'm guessing, if not more than that. Yeah, actually possibly more than ½ centimetre. So I'm not overly keen on those particular ones. These will stamp okay, but they're not my favourite. And they're a bit, well, I would say coarse, naive, perhaps, a little chunky for my taste. Okay, good for some things, but not necessarily what I want on a regular basis. But they will stamp. And if I show you something which is more recent, we have something like this. And I can't tell, unfortunately, because I can't see on top camera, how much of this you can actually see. So I'm just going to move it so you can see. Move it up closer, and if I take some pieces out of here, you'll be able to see how small they are. So what have I got here? Oh, a Create in Spain sticker, would you believe, or stamp, and that's how small it is. Okay, just stuck on my finger, but that will stamp out perfectly. So, before you all go thinking, yay, I can make polymer stamps really easy, it's going to be a doddle. It's not going to be quite that easy. Okay, there is an awful lot of trial and error, an awful lot of hours put in trying to get exactly the right result, getting the right result and then trying to duplicate it and finding that something went wrong. I can now show you that, for example, here's one. These are slightly earlier stamps that I made, and these are more recent ones. Okay. And if I get some of these out, for example, I'll take this one out. You can see that these are a lot thinner. they are fine as far as I'm concerned. They are, well, they're very usable stamps, but they are a lot thinner. And I just prefer the thinner stamp. I just find them easier to use. And I can't imagine me wearing them out because, you know, it's just me. I'm not, you know, how many people wear their stamps out? I think probably very, very few. Now, what you notice, if you look at it, there is a thin background and then you have the raised bit, which is what is stamped. Now, therein lies the difficulty. I could tell you that it took a developing time of 8 seconds on the back and 56 seconds on the front, and I got a perfect stamp. Yeah. I could also tell you that the next time that I did it, 10 minutes later, that perfect stamp wouldn't come out perfect. It would come out so that there was virtually nothing stampable on it. And I would be telling the truth in both cases. That is how variable this process is. It is not a cut and dried process. You can find your perfect time and then you can repeat the same thing in exactly the same way. And I'm talking with a digital timer, so you know, we're not talking counting in my head or anything like that. But you can do exactly the same thing the next time and have it come out with a completely different result. You might think, well, how on earth can you do that? It's very simple. It's the lamps. Now, when you switch a lamp on, you should allow it to warm up for a minute before you start to use it. And under those conditions, I would probably find that 8 seconds on the back and 56 seconds to a minute on the front is probably about right. However, if the lamp is quite warm, it might take 6 seconds on the back and 56 seconds or 54 seconds on the front. If my lamp is very hot, i.e. I've been using it for an hour or something like that on and off, it might only take 4 seconds to develop the back and, I don't know, 50 seconds on the front. So it isn't a cut and dried timing, and that is why if you do decide to do this, you will end up wasting. I can't imagine you wouldn't. I mean, I did this for, must be about 3, 4, 5 weeks, on and off, more on than off. And I wasted a lot of the polymer with things that were either underdeveloped on the back, so the letters or whatever were floating around on the front, or I try and compensate for that and the whole thing was solid and there was no design to print at all. So that is one of the reasons why you can get such variable results. The other reason you can get variable results is the design itself. If, for example, I show you something I've got here that's very fine. Okay. If I show you this one, which is one of my more recent stamps, and I love this one, I think this one's gorgeous. It's a lily. Okay, show you that one. That stamp's perfectly, it's absolutely gorgeous, that stamp, really lovely. But if I were to use the same settings, for example, not for that one, it's something which is slightly chunkier. Okay, if I were to use the same settings for this stamp, I would not get the same result. Okay, this one, which is a Merry Christmas stamp, and it has much larger areas that are going to actually be stamped and obtain colour. Because the timing that you give your stamp making depends not only on the heat of your lamp, which, by the way, will depend on the brand, the age, and so on, as well as the amount of time that the lamp has been switched on that day. It will also depend on how fine your work is. So, for example, if I was going to be doing very fine lettering, such as that, I would need more time on the back of the stamp and less time on the front of the stamp, because the more time, get it around the right way, more time on the front of the stamp. If you have a very, very small gap for the light to get through, it needs a greater length of time. So if you have something very, very fine, you want more time on the front and less time on the back, in proportion, shall we say. But again, it's not a definite timed science. You know, I cannot give you, and you wouldn't be able to give me either, the exact times for any given design that you want to make. I hazard a guess at it and I give it a go. And it's one of those things, if it doesn't work, then that's it, you have to throw it. You can't rectify it afterwards. If you have letters that are underdeveloped and not attached to the back, you throw it. If you have a stamp that has been developed all the way through, instead of having the design on it, again, you have to throw it. I mean, I've done some really lovely stamps, some fun ones, and I've done, you know, some more serious ones like the flowers and things like this. This one is one of the fun ones that I've done. I love this one, which is why I've done this cat in 3 sizes, because I like it so much. I think he's great. Okay, and I've got a little bird there as well. But it has definitely been trial and error. If you want to make stamps because you are desperate to make your own designs, fine, give it a go. But don't expect to get perfect results every time. Expect a lot of trial and error. Expect to waste a lot of product. And expect it to be a little bit, shall we say, harrowing at times when you think, oh drat, I did something wrong. Because if you do something wrong in this, that's it. You're done. You can't put it right. So there we go. How fine a design can you do on this? Basically, if you can draw it, you can actually make a stamp out of it. It will just affect the developing time of the stamp, front and back. But you need to have a certain portion of the stamp developed on the back, and then you turn it over and you develop the front. If you have a very big design that has got a lot of stamping area, i.e. you need it to contact the paper a lot, or a photographic one, then there will be less time on the front and more time on the back. You will want to ensure that you don't overdevelop the front. If you overdevelop the front, you can thicken the lines. So for example, if you overdevelop the front, this Merry Christmas would be quite chunky instead of fine. And there's a high chance that you wouldn't like the stamp that you came out with at the end of the day. So there we go. It's very rewarding when it comes out, when it works, and it's as frustrating as heck when it doesn't. It is not, if you're doing this to make money on stamp making, you're not going to make money. By the time you've included the cost of your materials to get your negative done, the time that you put in to get it done, the mistakes that you make, which you are still going to make even after you know how the process works, the cost of the actual liquid, post and packing, selling fees and all the rest of it on top of it, you are not going to make money selling stamps. Not doing it like this. If you want to make money selling stamps, you need to go into more major production, and you need to have a industrial type machine to make your stamps. But if you want to do your own designs, if you are artistic and you want to create your own very unique creations, it can be done. However, there are companies that will do your own stamps from your own designs, and if you only want a couple, then you'll find it's cheaper probably to ask somebody else to do it for you, and you will then get the result that you want. The stuff that I use to do my damming is actually just normal craft foam. and it's only something like 2 millimeters deep. I have tried, as I said at the beginning, doing deeper stamps, and I didn't like the effect of them either. And the timing will be different, by the way, if you're doing deeper stamps to shallow ones. I didn't really like the deeper stamps anyway. But for that, you can, if you want to do it that way, you can use window sealing tape, you know, draft excluder tape, and that is very thick. But personally, I didn't go for it, so I used the thin stuff. Okay, that's my update. I hope you found it useful. Thanks very much for watching. Bye bye.